Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. This video, XinFin XDC, big project for us, big holding, and one that I'm probably in my top 5, I would say, but certainly top 3 in terms of the most exciting ones for the near future and beyond. Guys, XinFin, the hybrid blockchain powerhouse for the private and domestic markets in the world. Multitude of different announcements that we've had covered in this project over the last year or so, and something I've been holding for some time, something that I'm trying to accumulate as much as possible of. And most recently, the updates out of XinFin and XDC have been very promising as always. The first one I'm going to bring to the attention, guys, is the Euro coin. Now, this is very similar to the USDC coin that you guys know out there, which is backed by the US dollar, of course. The Euro C backed by euros. Now, what's interesting about this, so again, issued by Circle, humongous financial institution, particularly in digital currency. This I find fascinating. So for me, this is obviously like the equivalent of the USDC for the euro. And here is a very interesting, staggering number. Why is this of interest for this particular topic? 6.6 trillion globally is traded within euro in general. So absolutely phenomenal. So together, Eurocoin and USDC unlock new possibilities for multi-currency digital finance and near instant foreign exchange, where daily volume in traditional markets can top 6.6 trillion globally. This is unbelievable amounts of money and numbers that we are talking about. And of course, we need to understand that if we're using this in a digital format, you need a blockchain out there that can hold the capacity, the transaction capabilities per second, of which XinFin can arguably boast within its ecosystems collectively over 20,000 transactions per second, which is quite phenomenal. And in fact, without those ecosystems, it boasts, I think, around 2,000 at the moment. And this is slightly higher than XRP, I think, who claim something like 1,500. So the race is on, guys, for all these stable coins, these transactions per second, all this stuff. We'll have to see how this plans out, because a lot of projects do throw out big numbers when they're in their early stages. And then when it comes to it, they can't really handle it. But XinFin is built to hold the scalability factor and integrate all these systems worldwide. We've seen the Trada token. We've seen what they're doing with LCX and Quant and all of these humongous projects, exchanges, technologies. It's really exciting, guys. And the reason I'm bringing this one to the attention is because this is going to be integrated via one chain as well, of course, through the XinFin system. This is absolutely phenomenal. This was announced a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to get my head around it a bit more before I started doing videos. And I think we need to understand the magnitude of how this works. So obviously, like, USDC is very popular. Some people are and are about it, but at the end of the day, this is going to be moving forward a digital stable coin. And now we've got this Euro C. We're looking at the European equivalent. We know for a fact, like, Europe is absolutely flying forwards with its initiatives in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And this is another big step. And it's chosen or working through with one chain, the likes of XDC XinFin, as an operator, as a blockchain system for this. So you imagine how this is going to work really down the line, because we know one chain and all these guys like work with LCX and all the other upcoming exchanges like Globaliance as well. It's painting a picture, isn't it? It's almost like if you went back a few years ago and you had the big names like Ripple, XRP and XLM and all these projects just kind of like finding their feet, and in a few years down the line, they're big powerhouses. Everyone knows about them, even people outside the crypto space. And now I feel like we're in a position where we kind of like rewound time, and we begin a project that is actually on paper, irrespective of its networking capabilities of like partnerships and people and that it's related to, it's essentially more powerful than most of these combined, which is quite amazing, really. And that's why I always believed in XinFin. I hold XRP, guys. I hold XRP, I hold XLM, Quant, any ISO token, you name it, I hold it. But for me, when I first heard about XDC XinFin, like, this one wasn't one that's really talked about, and I still believe that. I still don't think it's out there enough like the others are. And when that happens from a retail investor's perspective, we can be really excited about that. But for now, it's about understanding the technology, the markets that it's penetrating, the ecosystem that it's building, which is, by the way, building significantly faster, especially this year compared to last year, and those kind of partners that it's bringing on board. We're talking about integrations with humongous financial institutions and big exchanges up and coming. LCX is going to be huge, guys. And as I said, always having development with the likes of Hedera, the likes of Quant, of course, as well. And now this Trada token, which for Trade Tech, is absolutely incredible to see this move forward. We covered in the last video of the healthcare mechanism as well, for digital health reporting and historic data. And I made the comparisons to another project that I hold and cover sometimes, SolveCare. This is a huge market. We're talking about trillions of dollars worldwide, like trillions and trillions of dollars, pounds, whatever, of market value. And these guys are looking to try and force their way through to be powering a lot of this. Yes, there are other projects can handle the capacity of transactions and movement and algorithm, like the likes of IOTA, for example. But equally, from a blockchain perspective, apparent technology, XinFin's up there. And people always complain about the price point of XDC. Like, when's it going to move up? Well, first of all, we're on a winter market, so you're not really seeing much movement anyway. We'll go on to the chart in a second as well, to kind of look at this in more detail. But for me, it's like, this is so early. It's like I said, it's like rewinding time, even like maybe longer than a few years ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago, when those older, bigger projects came out for the first time. And I feel like if we could just have a crystal ball and look ahead to 2025, 2030, I think we're going to see some significant numbers for the likes of XinFin, XDC. The XDC token is very, very important mechanism for all its ecosystem. Other few projects I'm going to mention, like DC and MetaBlocks, the first metaverse built on XinFin as well. It's really exciting. But yeah, these kind of elements of the EuroC, the Eurocoin, are really interesting to me. And this one as well, Kinesis, very heavily involved in the backing of gold and silver towards its digital assets. We always try and look for comparisons with the real kind of, I say the real world, this is the real world, but like the traditional markets, gold, silver, all of these things, way back. And it's like it's doing a new cycle, but through digital format. And Kinesis, or Kinesis maybe, sorry if that's wrong, again, partnering and integrating with XinFin. And when you start putting a bit of dot connecting together, when you're building an ecosystem, guys, same in the gaming world that I live and breathe in Web3, is these partnerships have a reason behind them. You've got a marketing tool for communication, utilizing each other's audiences, but at the end of the day, these partnerships are only going to matter mostly if you can integrate with them or do some form of interoperability or capabilities together. And you have to think about this. Like, XinFin are building their partnerships and interactions with big projects, or even projects we haven't heard of. But when you start understanding what these projects do and what they're about, you can start linking these together to be like, well, hang on a minute. They're getting those stable coins involved. They're getting the likes of Circle, LCX, Globines, big dealings and project integrations with likes of Quant and Hedera, as I mentioned. And now we're looking at things like Kinesis, like silver and gold. We're looking at medical aspects, healthcare aspects. I can't see these guys stopping. I can see these guys becoming an absolute humongous powerhouse. Of course, like Ethereum is the top of the game over anything, with all the EVMs and everything. That everything's built on it on Ethereum as a first layer, or as layer 0, if you like. So that's always going to have the head game, in my opinion. But when we look to the next levels of these powerful projects like XinFin, XDC, and what they're capable of doing in the years to come is super exciting for me. As an investor, I'm sat here like every week that I do a video, every time I do a video of XinFin, I'm like always surprised or excited about something more and more. And as I said, last year was relatively quiet for XDC. Then they did the rebrand, which we covered at the earlier parts of this year, the XDC Foundation, and we started seeing more integrations with like the World Economic Forum, which we talk about a lot in Davos. Their integrations with IFTech, or sorry, IT, FEC, I think it is. Sorry, ITFA. Sorry, got that completely wrong. Big founding bodies of finance and banking worldwide. You don't just get invited and hosting these kind of events for nothing. Saw Andre Kasserman doing some really cool speeches and stuff and panels there the other day. I can't really speak much more highly of this project. I think it's really, really exciting, personally. In fact, let's just go into the chart because I want to talk about this topic that people keep bringing up, like the token price, like it's so low. Well, there's loads of different factors behind this. Like we said, like supply, and we're in a winter market as well, so it's always going to be down these low levels. But I don't think it's doing too bad. We had this really low area back here around the 30th of June a few months ago, and that was literally just knocking on the door of 2 cents, and it didn't go lower than that. By the way, still got my buy order in under that 2 cent mark. I think it was like 0.018 something. But yeah, that's just playing along with the fact that we could potentially see a drawdown if things go south even further in the real world. But for now, it's really reacted well to this level of resistance. Okay, so there's a couple of things I just want to draw in this one, just so we're clear. This is taking the most recent high point and the lowest point we've had as well. So at the moment, we're playing around with this red line. It's clear as day. We saw a lot of traction around here between June and July respectively for the XDC token in this area as well. So this is a good focal point. As I said, I got my buy order down here because this is now going to be testing as a level of support. Before these periods, we had a big black hole. That's all I can call it, really. So for me, there's not enough support confirmations here to say that we're definitely going to stay here and go up. That's not to say it won't. I'm just saying, like, from an investor's, well, I'm relatively experienced now, as an investor's perspective of like what's potentially going to happen here. So there is an argument to say that we could get another one at these lower 2 cent regions or just below if it does want to touch down there. What I would love to see is XDC hold this support line and start moving itself up. Now, sometimes in these bear markets and winter markets, you do get the traction of a project just purely from the way it's going on in its path, right? How exciting it is, how these partnerships, the ecosystem building, people do pay attention to this, and sometimes it moves away from I guess we could say like traditional market moves, like the rest of the market does in these kind of areas and cycles. So for me, this is a really interesting area. Just got to have a bit of caution just in case, or at least a potential buy opportunity down here. Again, if we're thinking about it, really, like between 2 cents and 2.5 cents, it's not significant unless you're really plowing significant amounts of money in. And for me, similar to other projects I talk about, and it might sound boring, but I'm a long-term holder of XDC. Okay, guys, like I'm not selling this thing until I see like big numbers, well over $1. Like I don't want to touch this XDC. I want to build it. I would love to have 1 million XDC one day, honestly, because I think this is going to be an absolute giant in the future. So as of now, in terms of buying patterns, yes, I want to be buying the lowest possible points, but I don't have a crystal ball here, guys. Like I have to go on the basis of data and historic information. That's why I've got this lower area. If it doesn't come in, brilliant. It means we're making some money, or perceived to be making money, because it's going in the upward trend. But for those that are new to XDC, this is why I'm pinpointing these areas. But I want you guys to understand that there are some projects like I just mess about with. There are some projects that I hold short term as well as long term, and then there's some that I'm just purely thinking this is the future. I have to hold this and accumulate, and this is one of them. I'm not going to beat around the bush or make things up or anything like that. I'm clear as day. Like this is long term for me. So I'll be buying anything of XDC under 10 cents, pure and simple. But if I get them at these lower regions, even better. I want to hit 1 million XDC one day. I've got a long way to go, but I'm doing my best to accumulate that. I've got loads of different projects. I've just cut a load out the other day, actually, and someone did mention in the comments on another video recently, like, what's your top 5? So I'm going to do a video rundown of like my whole entire holdings, but predominantly focusing on the top 5 of mine. Not necessarily quantity, but that I've got holdings of, but more about how I've perceived these to be the most important in my portfolio and why. So we'll go into that a bit in more detail. By the way, XDC is one of them, so I've kind of given it away a bit. But for me, it's long term, and that's the way it's always going to be. So I'll always be there for every step of the way with you guys. Like I said, for new investors, for XDC, or people who are like maybe taking that daily or weekly trading challenge. There's loads of opportunities here, and everyone's different. Everyone's got a different goal. Everyone's different mentality to these areas of trading or accumulation, investment. Okay, so the other points here on the RSIs are very interesting. So at the moment, the RSI on 14-day and 28-day at 43. I always like to be as near to 40 as possible when I do insert money into investing, but it's not far off. I wouldn't be mad to be buying right now, but there's a couple of indicators here that are suggesting to me like just hold a bit, because we're probably going on a bit of an upward trend. First of all, one confirmation, the MACD here, it switched over literally and very quickly as well, actually, because there's a big gap downwards. We had this big sell-off pattern here that you can see in the red, but I'm talking about this blue and red line here. So this is showing my 12.26.9 closing, on the MACD. So the switch over, we could argue, started on the 8th of September, but the actual crossover on the 10th. This is showing a positive move. I don't think it's going to be huge. We might see a bit of a smaller pattern of green, but it's nice to see this sell-off being reversed in some ways. So from a buying perspective, I'm like, well, I could just trigger a buy now. It's in the lower regions. I'm not suggesting this is going like 5 cents or something, by the way, guys, because actually, if you look, the last hit up from this low point on the 30th of June, way down here, just as I said, around 2 cent mark, actually flopped up to nearly 4 cents. So I'm not saying that's going to definitely happen again in this move, but you could anticipate that, okay, we're seeing a bit of positivity. I don't feel like the risk is there anymore. Could jump in, but as I said, it's testing this area. We can't be 100% sure, and it's not gone long enough. I need to see at least a week's data to understand like where we're going with this, to confirm any kind of like proper moves. So yeah, as I said, if you're a new investor, you might not be too angry at manually purchasing. Like, this is not financial advice, in my opinion. If I was starting off with my initial investments of XDC, as I said, it's long term for me. So if you look at the spectrum of where it can go, then it's not really a problem. But here we see that it's on a bit of an upward trend. So I just got to see this out for a few days or up to a week, and I can start making a bit more confirmation about, right, do I want to do some manual purchasing? Is it going to come down lower to my lower buy points? Otherwise, I might have to rethink the structure a bit. But yeah, right now we're moving into an upward trajectory. And I notice this sell on the right hand side here, but we just have a look at this data. It's the second day of a bit of green. It's not huge, but it's showing a switch at the end of the day. We can't ignore that. And the 3 monthly is still in negative. 6 months is 48% negative. These have been coming down slowly, very slowly. But I would love to see these go into green, because I think once these switch into green, guys, and particularly that 6 month one, it's going to change people's philosophy about this token. And I think some people are holding back still because they're like, oh, what's this actually doing? But once you understand what XDC XinFin is about, I think people will start flying in. But we need to see the world change first, into a bit more positivity. There's too much doom and gloom at the moment. We need to get out of that and people need confidence in their income availabilities and what they can and cannot invest. Especially in that old mentality of only invest what you can afford to lose. That's really apparent right now. People have to just be very cautious. So yeah, that's where we are with XinFin XDC at the moment, guys. Like, let us know in the comments below what you've been doing with your holding. You're new to XDC. If you are, you can check out our intro videos. I'll leave those at the end of this one. But yeah, for me, like, I see a really, really exciting few years coming up for these guys. The ecosystem's going to build more and more. And what they're doing, like, if you look at the previous video I did on XDC about this healthcare thing, I think that's really interesting. Because it's a huge market, but they're penetrating really interesting markets, guys. Let's keep an eye on this. I'm really excited. But I'm going to leave that one there. Thank you very much for watching. I've got quite a few other videos to do in this period of time. We'll see you in the next XDC video. Don't forget to drop your comments about your holdings or your thoughts about XDC. Love to hear them. Love to read them. We will see each other soon. Bye-bye.